One of the things that became painfully clear is that switching between Zoom and the web application on mobile devices is just going to be a really, really hard usability problem to solve. So our goal is to not use the software until we can do the complete randomization process on blockchain. We're going to offer it available for people to test out outside of these calls or other groups and things like that. But there's apparently a lot of you who are joining from cell phones and tablets, and that's a really challenging problem. So in the name of keeping the experience reliable, as it has been for the past several months, we're going to use that. We are doing some significant retweaking to the UI to indicate when consensus is reached. And when that's done, we will do another demonstration video to share with the group. The other item of business is I created a proposal. I posted on Hive, and I posted in the Genesis Ƒractal Telegram group. This is a amendment to our process for making group decisions, such as upgrading the process. When we went to 2 rounds, we no longer have the end of round 1 with a bunch of people rated level 6. In fact, in round 1, we're only saying these are the top 3 without necessarily having an order associated with it. We don't have enough teams with active members yet to form what I would believe is a reliable representative council. So we're doing an interim process where I'm proposing that we take the top 12 people by their average weekly level, using the same formula as the new token distribution model. And those 12 people will discuss any proposals that are submitted to the community, and with 2/3 approval, they can ratify changes. Now we're left with a predicament in that the current rules are that these types of changes need to be approved by 2/3 of the top of everyone who's ranked level 6 in round 1, when round 1 was the only round. So I'm going to ask this week that in addition to identifying the top 3, you identify and list the rank 6 person, the greatest contributor from round 1, and that these individuals will be the ones to ratify the change that I've proposed here. If there's any disagreement, of course, we can postpone it to another week. We can discuss it, make sure that everyone is on board with the changes and the implications thereof. The goal that we should have is to get teams where we have enough teams with enough active participants, enough full-time active participants, which means people who have participated in at least 2/3 of the past 12 meetings. And then we can use the team leads as the council instead. That is what that is the direction we are moving. And so I'm willing to open the floor right now to any feedback or questions on that.
If you have any questions or comments, just go down to, you can unmute yourself. You can go down to the reactions on Zoom and raise your hand. The link is also in the chat, by the way, and thank you, Gregory, for posting that there. All right, I guess everyone is kosher with this new proposal. Obviously, we need something different.
So the only thing that comes to my mind right now is that we have 15 minutes between round 1 and round 2. Since you're level 6, you're going on to round 2 anyway. So we will do the meeting at the end of round 2. If you were level 6 in round 1, then we'll meet right in the Zoom call and ratify that. Yes, Dan Singjoy.
Thanks, Dan. I was just wondering, this is the first time I'm seeing it, and you mentioned we're aiming to ratify today, although we can delay it, and I think it's probably good, but I haven't had time to think about it. Do you think that there's a big rush to do it this week as opposed to next week? And do you think that should be a big priority, or do you think it makes a big difference either way?
I don't think it makes a big difference either way. We don't have any proposals right on the back of this to go on. Just trying to clean things up. And if I have no problem introducing it this week and then next week using this process so everyone can plan their schedules accordingly. Unless there's any objections, I'm fine delaying this actual vote and process till next week, but obviously this week, please consider the proposal.
We have a clarifying question from Jordan. He says, for this week, will we be re-ranking people assigned level 6 in round 1 again in round 2?
Yeah, the level 6 in round 1 is just purely and we won't even do it this week because it only needs to be done the week that we're going to do the actual ratification of the amendment. So don't worry about anything this week. Next week, we will we'll pick the round 6 person just for the purposes of this one approval to migrate and close that gap. Yeah, Jorge. Hold on, I want to make one thing clear. When we do this, the level 6 ranking has no impact on your compensation in that week. So it's just you're providing enough information so that we can get the sample of the right people to make the decision according to the existing rules. And one of the things that I want to make sure that we as a community keep sight of, I know we're moving fast and we're doing things informally, but we should, as much as possible, respect. Sorry, excuse me. As much as possible, we need to respect the processes we've laid out for ourselves, because if we can't respect our own process, then at the end of the day, it's going to fall apart. Who needs rules if no one follows the rules? And I want to acknowledge that we have been moving fast, that we left this gap there, and to the fullest extent possible, I want to play by the rules that we set out for ourselves in adopting new rules. So that's what's going on there. Jorge.
Thank you. So the proposal change is that before each weekly meeting, any member with an average rank of 6 or greater may introduce a proposal. We had a similar idea in the ƒractal meeting, and one member pointed out that not only members with an average rank of 6 or higher can have good ideas, and we have people here that come frequently, seriously, that are very frequent visitors of these meetings that don't have very high rankings. But aside that, we have data from one of the posts from Matt Langstone that show it that the most trustworthy rankings as compared to those of the community come not from people that have the highest rankings, but from people that have the highest frequency of attendance. So I'll suggest that instead of giving the opportunity to propose changes to the people who have the highest rankings, give that opportunity to either any member within the community or the people with the highest level of attendance. We have people that frequently have 3 or 4 level, but come every meeting and understand most details of the community. That for the first paragraph. And for the second paragraph,
can we address one thing at a time?
Excuse me?
Can we address one thing at a time? And
okay.
then let me answer that, and then
Okay,
we can
sure.
go back to the second paragraph. All right. So this is certainly debate. There are multiple dimensions upon which we can measure people, and the dimension I prefer to measure people on is people that are in teams. But this is an interim process. Now, it's impossible to have a high average ranking and not be a regular attender. So you're going to have too many zeros in your average to be there. So everyone who has a high average rating will be a regular attender. Those who are contributing the most, they're the ones who have sacrificed the most of their time, their energy, their money. These are the people who have the most skin in the game. Someone who shows up but isn't contributing in any other way as is valued by the consensus does not have the same skin in the game. So they might be able to have a proposal, and that's good. We welcome their opinion. They should be well known. All they need to do is make their proposal, get somebody who is highly ranked and has a lot of skin in the game to agree. And if they can find even one person who qualifies to agree with their proposal, a proposal can be submitted. So all we're saying is that there is a filter where if you're a reliable attender and your average contribution is less than 6, keep in mind, about 25% of the people, if they're a regular attender, can be ranked 6 or above, because we have 6, 7, and 8 levels on the second round. So there's a large number of people, 1 in 4 maybe slightly less. I haven't actually done the numbers, but that if you're a regular attender, you should be able to achieve that. And that is just a filter, which means getting 2 people to bring a proposal forward shouldn't be that hard if it's a good idea, right? There's all kinds of informal ways of presenting proposals. And this is just a way to say, all right, this is backed by at least one person with this level. Now we will bring it to the entire group for consideration in an actual vote. So we're not saying that people who show up for the first day don't get an opportunity to post something or share something that can then be liked so much by someone in the group that it's presented as a proposal. It's just a process of filtering. Does that make sense? Or do you have any feedback to that?
Yeah, the thing is that I understand the logic and it sounds really intuitive, but the thing is that you have plenty of people here that doesn't contribute as high as the top 25%. For example, people that are outside of the ƒractal team, which is close to the top 25% that contribute the most. For example, if you prevent people that have a lower ranking than 6, you will be excluding myself. For example, I don't have an average rank higher than 6. My rank should be around 5 or 4.
Yeah, so let me address that real quick. We've only had a couple of weeks with the 2-round system. And so people's averages from before that are lower than they will be going forward. So I think that we might need a while before we can see what people's averages are under the new system. Because I agree, right now, there are not that many people that can have averages higher than 6, because until 2 weeks ago, 6 was the highest you could get. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't get 6 every single week, you had an average lower than 6. So I try to set that rule to be forward-looking instead of based on the current state of things. But yeah, I think if there's, go ahead.
Yeah, and you will also have people that go to the second round that have only 4 or 3 rank, so that will be excluded from making proposals. And this is only for making proposals, it's not to do an implementation. So I'll insist that you guys consider to either lower that threshold or to change the criteria for, it's making proposals. And for the second paragraph, it says after round 2 of each weekly meeting, those 12 with the highest weekly average. Yeah, I wanted to warn the community about the highest rankings. The 12 with the highest rankings are becoming really hard to change in time because of the Pareto distribution of the Fibonacci, and because the size of the community is growing. So whoever
Fibonacci isn't even a factor in this, because average levels have nothing to do with Fibonacci.
the average, each individual level is a consequence of Fibonacci. So the average
No,
of them are
Fibonacci is applied to the level. We're taking the average of the level before Fibonacci is applied.
the average level, not the average respect. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then I'll have to think deeper about this. But what I'm trying to say is that it's getting really hard. No, I have to think deeper about it, about the second paragraph. I just wanted to say that let's not make a really hard to change the top people who is making the decision.
I would be willing to consider lowering the requirement to level 5 average and above. We will gather some statistics and we'll see how many people that is, and we'll be able to demonstrate at the start of next week exactly a list of who would be currently qualified based on the end of this week's results, and then go forward from there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your feedback. Yeah, I do want to emphasize this is not super linear based on Fibonacci. This is the average of your level, which is very linear in terms of how things go. And I was aiming for 25% of the community, so the top 25% or so was who was going to be the filter process. That was the goal. But if we need to expand it to the top third, then we can do that. All right. Thank you so much for the feedback and the discussion and for showing up early. I'd like to take a chance to just remind ourselves of why we are here. Because we have these processes and we're trying to work out these processes, and we got business, we just addressed some business items. But the reason we are here is because if we don't figure out how to work together as a society, we are going to fall apart, right? We're here because when we work together, we produce value that no uncoordinated people can produce. There's a net increase in value. 1 + 1 is 3. So as we are cooperating to produce that gain in value and then have that value distributed back to each and every one of us. And that's distributed back to us when we, as a group, reach consensus on the people that are being most effective at producing value to us as members, right? If you were to donate money to everyone here, that would be a pretty obvious contribution. You gave money to everyone in the group on a one-to-one basis. That's as fair and objective as you can get because it benefited everyone. But anytime you are serving anyone else in the community, you're somewhat in aligned. And the more people in the community you are serving by your actions, by your contributions, by your time, by your money, the more aligned it is with the community. So ask yourself, how is what I am doing contributing directly to the well-being of the other members of the community? And one of the things that we have in common is we all believe in fractal governance. We all believe that this process of reaching consensus is the best way to protect against tyranny. It's the best way to protect against rule of the expert class. It's the best way to maintain our independence and to maximize our individual power in the world relative to the other organizations and other collections of people. So we all benefit when we see fractal democracy adopted in the world, when we see political parties adopting fractal democracy, when we see other nonprofit organizations or businesses, or just people learning about it and spreading it and understanding the principles and the values that recognize each of us as humans, that recognize the value of collaboration, that recognize and value independence of you as a person, independence as you as a family, independence as you as a county, as a state, as local as possible, right? You need to have that level of independence. Those ideas add to our security of everyone here. If everyone in society understood these ideas, we would have a revolution overnight, a peaceful revolution, and then the government would actually represent the will of the people. That is the broader vision. And then there's the narrower vision. We are building infrastructure. We're building a smart contract platform that allows businesses to come and deploy their applications and benefit from the fractal governance that we have. Having a blockchain powered by fractal governance is going to be a unique proposition in the industry. Every other blockchain either has ad hoc, informal governance off-chain, or it's token-weighted, Pareto-influenced oligarchy. So fractal democracy on a blockchain provides a unique environment where we can build trust. That trust can benefit inter-blockchain communication. That trust can benefit security of tokens, can help resolve disputes, it can help prevent problems before they even occur. Fractal governance is huge. Having our own chain is huge. Having our own chain with technology that is unique and powerful relative to the industry is huge. Having people come to our blockchain and build applications that serve this community and others will benefit this community. We need to build an economy among ourselves in order to have anything worthwhile to govern, right? If all we're doing here is meeting for governance sake, we're not truly demonstrating the power of and the purpose of governance, right? Governance is there to regulate something else for some other benefit. That other thing, that economy, that collaboration, that is the thing that is important. Governance is just a tool that facilitates it. So if all we come here is govern, just to govern, that's meaningless. The purpose for coming together is to form an economy. That's why we're creating tokens. That's why we have respect. That's why we have value. So when you are in your groups this week, I want you to think very carefully and ask each person, how is what you are doing directly benefiting the other members of this group? And the closer and more aligned it is to benefiting other people in this group, the more highly ranked it should be in the weekly meetings, because then we will get more value that we actually value. And that value translates into incentive to show up and participate, right? Because everyone is giving, they're sacrificing their time for this cause, and they're expecting a return, right? We don't have infinite time on this planet. There's expected return, maybe not in the short term, but in the years ahead. So identify how the contributions being made today are a down payment on that future return, and use that scale. And you can aid the mission statement that we've had, which is spreading fractal democracy, which is building the technology that enables things. That mission statement is a guide that at the very least we can all agree on the Fractally white paper and whatnot. And as we introduce our new blockchain, we can all agree on the need to support the infrastructure. Those are all things we have in common. But ideally, we'd have as much in common as possible. The more things we have in common, the more value we can provide to each other. So if you've got, if you can do business with other people in the fractal, do business with other people in the fractal. If you're doing business with people that are in the fractal, invite them to join the fractal. And try to find ways to meet the needs of this fractal, whether it's recommending services. I don't know what all needs to be done, but I just know that if we don't build an economy, if we don't trade with each other, if we don't build ties with each other that go beyond just fractal governance, then we'll have a very weak foundation. But if we are producing real value by collaborating together, then the governance has a purpose. If we're not producing value by some other means, then the governance doesn't have a purpose. So throwing that out there, I'd We've got 15 minutes until we do the breakout. Be interested in hearing what other people think.
Well, it's so true that if we're only here to participate and just meet with others, we're not really practicing why we are here. And I think that what you said, Dan, carries real weight. We are here not only to learn, but to apply and express fractal governance and to help spread it to other people, other communities, so that they can realize the true freedom that becomes available to all of us in using it. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you, Gregory. Felix.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of quick thoughts too that came to mind of what you're saying about spreading this to where like this community becomes self-sustainable. I don't know, some thoughts that come is like what the most important thing, right, would be food, right? If we can get people who get those type of people who would be able to provide all the necessary like fundamental things that we need to be able to live, and if we can start to build this fractal around being able to trade within like goods that are that have the most value, the essentials for life. I think those are kind of just some thoughts that are coming to my head, and then that takes like more dedicated focus of reaching out to the right people. One of the things I'm working on right now is I'm trying to get he's a VP for like innovation and technology for a university, and so getting university students is like that's a way to spread this process. But what you're saying is like really trying to build a truly self-sustainable economy within this community. Thoughts that come into my head is like, okay, well, let's say, worst case scenario, ideally, we hope that doesn't happen. But if like, things got crazy and then people don't know, like hyperinflation goes like nuts. And then like, now we go back to kind of like the barter days of like, now we're trading for the essential needs. And so getting, I think the fundamentals of like what the producers, the source of like who can bring and trade within the community would be a lot of respect. And I don't know, these are just some thoughts that are in my head, but it's definitely given me some things to think about. And I just thought I should share them while they're fresh.
Thank you, Felix. Yeah, so in my book, I make the point that true democracy is only possible with independence, maximizing your personal independence, which means being as self-reliant as possible, or at the very least, having a multitude of options from other people. If you don't have a multitude of options in the free market for something, then you become dependent and then you lose your freedom. So, having things like, selling, if you're a farmer and you can sell food, let the community know by, and now you're providing that into the community, give the community discounts and create incentives to buy from the community instead of outside the community. Those types of things increase the independence of the community and increase our ability to be sustainable into the future. The ideas here are not popular with those who are in power. If the people actually had power, things would not be happening that are happening. And the need to censor communication, as we observe everywhere on social media, in the mainstream media, that censorship is evidence, direct evidence that the powers that be want to inhibit or prohibit people from coming together to reach a true consensus. They don't want us talking to each other. They don't want us getting aligned, which means what we're doing here is threatening to them. If we are not independent, then they can easily shut us down. They can easily kill fractal governance. So independence is key. And there are many ways to be independent, and it's not a black or white thing, because we're all dependent on nature. We all have various things that we're dependent upon, and we can only mitigate it to so much. But encouraging one another to become independent and lean on each other instead of leaning on people that are not on board with the idea of fractal governance then whether it's an economic collapse or a world war or a natural disaster, you have people you can trust and who you can rely on. And that's why we want fractal governance adopted, because let's say there is something massive disruptions going on that happens every 80 years or less. You have a way of organizing your local community because you have experience here, and we will have done good in the world. We have provided people with tools that allow them to come to agreement peacefully that respects people. I think Matt's not here today, but he said something that as he was sharing the ideas in my book, he shared it with a lot of anarchists, right? A lot of libertarians. These are people that are like cats. Herding cats is hard. You can't get these people to get in a room and say, we're going to agree to any type of governance or government, because that is the root of all evil. Why would I want to participate in democracy? Democracy is horrible. Coming from the background of anarchism, anarcho-capitalist, libertarianism, I understand exactly the challenge, as I've been there. People are very skeptical about joining any group or organization that purports to exercise governance. But what Matt said, people, and maybe you guys can provide some clarification, is that anarchists see how this is a means of working together without giving up their independence as an individual. This is a means of coming together as a group to support the individual independence. And that is uniting people, is uniting the cats toward a common cause. And that is the potential power of what we have here. And so that's also something to keep in mind. Eric.
So I've been exploring the idea of how do we bring in existing communities who don't know anything about sometimes blockchain or crypto or fractally. So we can't approach them by going and say, let me tell you about fractally. They don't get it very much. So I've been doing that path of bringing them on. And it really is first talking about asking them questions and saying, would you like these problems solved? I recommend the book, The Mom Test, as a start for anybody that needs more help asking questions. So I've taken a group from starting them with the idea of collaboration and democracy and moving them on. And so I've invited them to Fractally, but I've started with a group that's just local and easy, which is an artist association who wants to basically accelerate the growth of amateurs to well-known paid artists and beyond, and plus coordinate with all the other business communities. And hopefully I can write that up in a dissertation. So love to have any help on how to turn that into something measurable. But just the idea that you can't always take somebody and start where we are. You have to go where they are and move them from what they're thinking to what they should be thinking, and then how to integrate with us.
All right, thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that. You're right, going to where people are, asking them problems. You never really convince anyone by asserting things. You have to ask them questions and have them convince themselves. Right, that's how Socrates did it. And that's the humble attitude of assuming you know nothing. That's how I got to where I am. I just kept asking questions. And these are the answers that eventually came up. But you never stop asking questions, and you always go to take the truths that they assume and ask them questions until they see what we see as self-evident. But then maybe they can ask us questions that help further us. So definitely the best way to go about persuading people is using their own logic. James.
Hey, I just had two quick thoughts. One was a response to your comment on anarchists and how they might view this enterprise. And I think my prediction is that it can be a process like this could be convincing to many anarchists, because it's a means of it's agreeing to rules rather than rulers, which is like what I found to be one of the sticking points for a lot of anarchists. I think they'll be able to get behind this as a set of rules to have in society rather than a set of rulers. That was my thought on the anarchists.
Really good observation. Thank you.
The other thing I had was a question for you, Dan. You said earlier you would encourage us all to ask in our breakout groups, how is what we are working on directly bringing value to others in the community? I just wanted to maybe hear a little more from you on that, and why is that the question you would encourage people to ask, rather than the question something like, how is what you're working on directly benefiting the mission of the ƒractal, or something like that? And yeah.
So the mission of the ƒractal is the thing that causes people to initially join. It's the thing that we all have in common. And if it's directly benefiting the mission, it's most likely to be directly benefiting something everyone here cares about. So in that sense, it is fully aligned. But in the broader sense, there's other subgroups within the community that benefit, and producing value and creating benefits for being a part of the community while achieving the mission is the best way to go. If the mission is to get on a ship from England to the United States, right? You're going to be on the ship for a couple of weeks, right? You probably want a band, and you probably want somebody providing some entertainment and some food and all these other things, because it's a long journey. And if you just focus solely on just the mission and where you're going, you're not going to have the things you need to sustain you on your mission. So there are things that everyone here has needs in order to sustain them on the mission, right? And if we can't sustain ourselves financially, socially, then we won't be able to actually achieve the mission. So that's why I said having fun, well, that's meeting the needs of the community. The more we provide the needs of the community, the stronger the community members are in order to pursue their mission. So that's my opening the scope of things and providing focus into what things are valuable and what things maybe aren't valuable, and how you might judge it. Because it's one thing to judge something abstractly. Is this aligned with the mission? I don't know. But it's another thing to say, this person's doing something I value, and it's supporting me in my life, and I'm supporting the mission, and therefore I'm valuing it because they're supporting me and supporting the mission.
Yeah, that's a really interesting. I think I have to think about that. That's a really cool way of thinking about it. It's a little bit turning it on its head. It's like you derive alignment to the mission through bringing value to people who are aligned to the mission, which is, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, we're figuring all this stuff out as we go. So for those of you who are new, be prepared. This is a discussion. We're all just trying to make the world a better place. We are trying to figure out what makes communities work and to have fun doing so. So if we're not having fun, it won't be sustainable. That's one of the things I've said. So let's make sure this is fun. And if we don't reliably connect it to real value in our lives versus abstract value out there, then it also won't be sustainable. It's about time to have our breakout rooms. I'm going to hand it back to Joshua.
All right, so we have at least 4 new people here that I've been chatting with privately. If welcome, by the way, to the newbies, and I hope you have a really good time. If any of these new people end up in your room, just please prioritize helping them learn the process and making sure they have a good time and that they want to come back in future weeks. I'm going to open all the rooms. You're going to automatically be sent to your room, and a timer will start for 45 minutes. After that timer ends, there'll be about a 60-second delay. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoy round 1. We'll see you back here in about 45 minutes.
All right. So just 5 of us
Hey,
today.
I'm very happy to be here in this room. Fantastic. Sounds good.
Great group.
That
Same
would
here.
not be perfect.
Heaviest heater room I've ever been.
Dancing Joy, Daniel Larimer, and Jorge, and Jason. Wow, that's beautiful.
Just so you know, I am recording and planning to share on social media at some point. But yeah, I'm also thrilled to be here with y'all.
All right, thank
Dan, I
you.
love it that you say that every time you're doing it. It just has such integrity to say that.
Yeah, he has the ball.
Thanks, Jason, and I'm happy to help.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and kick things off. And this week, we've been reviewing the stuff from last week, coming up with new proposals for how to resolve things, working on the core blockchain stack. I reached out to some people and invited them to be block producers on the new chain. I invited them to join the meetings today. I don't know if Rodrigo showed up from EOS Detroit, but they were invited to participate. They participated in the past, but they're interested in being block producers. I suggested that they needed to be attending regularly if they want to actually be block producers in the coming chain. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, in addition to all the normal stuff of funding Ƒractal and managing the team, making all this stuff happen. So that's my contribution for the week. I'm going to pass it off to Jason, and I want to recognize Jason for bringing his sister. Your sister?
Yeah, it's my sister.
All right, thank
Pretty
you.
cool thing. We had to onboard her kind of suddenly last night, get her on to Hive with the posting password and sign the agreement, all that. That all worked. I think we're going to try and get her a proper onboarding with Joshua or Matt next week so that she has a better sense of what's going on here, but I've talked to her about it a lot. She's a really smart cookie. She's going to have a lot of good ideas, I'm sure. So that's my sister. She's around here. Same last name, Corey Jenkins. That's one of the things I did this week. The other thing was, as usual, I ran my program on the blog page, and I'll show you guys in the chat how that works in case you don't remember or haven't seen it. It's a little trickier now with the two-stage process, but usually what we get is—
You can share screen now.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. That'd be fine. Try that. All right, so often what we get in the comments is something that's semi-regular like this, where you can see that people just put the same thing basically on two different lines, or they put it all on different lines like that. And so Joshua and Gregory have to go through here and sort out whether these people actually agreed or not. And that's not too tough. Other times you get some really crazy stuff where people will put things about pizzas and memes and stuff like that. We haven't seen much of that recently, but what my program does is it just reads the whole Hive page, and then it produces these consensus reports, and it says, like, these 4 people agreed on exactly this ordering. So that Joshua and Gregory don't have to go through and match these things up by hand. Occasionally you get people who are brand new and they'll just take their name out of the middle and put it at the front for no reason. And we don't know why. They just don't understand the process. And it kind of looks like they posted an agreeing consensus report, but they didn't. And then we'll have other things that just kind of trip people up. So basically I'm contributing to the accuracy of the results that get put in to the reports that come out that Gregory produces. This week I had a conversation with Gregory to get into, like, what do these numbers mean? Why are there people getting respect points who haven't shown up that week? Like, there was a person who got respect points last week and wasn't at the meeting. And Gregory explained the whole thing to me, and I went through, like, well, there's a lot of people who are going to have that question. You might want to explain that. So he's going to be writing a blog post about that explains the reasoning behind why those numbers show up the way they do. And I think that's going to help a lot of people understand what those numbers mean. And that's like the ground truth of a big chunk of this community. Like, when that's accurate, it makes a big difference. But when it's accurate and nobody knows that it's accurate, it doesn't make as much of a difference as it could. But when it's accurate and everybody knows that it's accurate and knows that how it's worked, then the whole community is playing by the same set of rules. They all know what rules they're playing by, and the communication and the collaboration goes much, much easier. I mean, if you
Yeah.
can imagine having 4 different currencies in a community and you wanted to go buy eggs and these people only took this and that, having all of those, it just gets confusing. But when everybody's playing the same game by the same rules, there's a lot more collaboration opportunities. So that's what I'm aiming for. Say again?
That's why we do blockchain. And so you're doing the best to simulate a blockchain while it's under development. So thank you.
Yeah, as much as I can. So let me see, is there anything else I did? No, that's everything. Last week I ranked 4. I was in the second round with Pascal in the second room. And that's everything for me. Since I'm talking about Pascal or to Pascal, I'll turn it over to him. And there's a summary of what I said. Go ahead, Pascal.
Pascal's not here.
I
Patrick,
apologize. I was
I want you
talking
to be
about Jorge. I
Pascal.
was in a room with
I love
Jorge, not
Pascal.
Pascal. But
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
I'm Pascal Patrick. Nice to meet you. And okay, thank you,
I'll get your
Jason.
username right. That one I remember.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so what I did since 2 weeks, and for the reason I have not joined the Fractal stand-up meeting, it's because I was very busy to prepare my interviews. I have made 8 interviews of builders into the EOS ecosystem and also into the fractals. And I have interviewed with my fellow Dan Sinjoy here. I have invited him and decided to interview Tadas Veitikunas about the Albedo blockchain protocol. Without to even read the white paper, we have dived into what it is, why, how. That was very interesting. Then we have also interviewed together Duane Philippi about Alien World Fractal, why we need Alien World, why we need the metaverse, all the subjects. And then I have interviewed people very involved into the EOS mainnet, for example, Matthias Schoenbeck with ZEOS, the private transactions. He's creating that by using the DApp network liquid apps stack. So he's creating that with this technology. And I have interviewed Zyzen, nothing to do about Fractal, but about, I would say, the ENF, the EOS Network Foundation, and all the events coming for Yield Plus, Trust EVM, and all this stuff. So I have interviewed all those people. That was very a lot of work to do the video, to edit, to publish that in a nice way. I have interviewed, and that was the workshop 15 in a row. I have started on April 2020, and I do that every 2 months. I have never missed a workshop. Also, when I am in fever, I have some fever, and I am always committed to publish those workshops. Then I have also interviewed Maurice Vanegas for the UFI, Human Generated Finance workshop 11 on the August 23rd. We speak about collaborative culture on EOS. That was the title of the workshop, building a collaborative culture on EOS. And I chose this title because I think it's very important to collaborate more than just the voting part. And this week I was into the Wednesday with Jorge, Dan Sinjoy here into the Hidden Fractal, and I was in a lion mode to say what I think about the contribution and the voting part. I was advocating that the voting part is not the most fun part. The fun part is really to collaborate and create a building collaborative culture on EOS. And I am happy to have here you, Dan, Daniel Larimer today, advocating in the same direction. That's nice. Okay, so, and I will put into the chat here my link, like that you can see after that the Twitter link about Maurice Vanegas, and I have also the Twitter link about the entire workshop 15 I will put into the chat also this link. Like this, you can see building a collaborative culture on EOS, but all in a fractal way. I am always in mind the fractal paradigm. Okay, so I will give the mic to Jorge.
Thank you, Patrick. And hello, everyone. Very pleased and honored to be here. So I'll share my screen to give evidence of the things I've done. So as many of you guys know here, I've created a series of posts analyzing as deep as I could the 12 fractal democracy protocols. The first one was this one, towards a statistical simulation of fractal democracy, where I identified the relevance of noise and the relevance of sincerity in this 12 protocol. Since then, I've been advocating against self-ranking. I did some other posts, this one on possible attacks on fractal democracy, in which I identify that whoever controls the mental zeitgeist of a population controls also this process, meaning that, if, for example, people in here is a believer in whatever the New York Times or CNN is telling them, independently of this process, they will end up doing what those media are telling them. I also created another post on passive income and value discovery and fractal democracy. I did this several weeks ago, but this analysis led me to my contributions from this week and the week before that, which is that I created this fractal for Spanish-speaking people. It's called Fractal de Habla Hispana. It's right here. We are targeting a total population of about 22 countries and 500 million people. It's the Spanish-speaking people. And so we created Telegram groups. We have been in contact with Joshua. We intend this fractal to be a control group for the pretty fast innovation that the Genesis fractal is having. So we are doing the simplest form of fractal democracy that I can imagine. So we won't have at the very beginning second round, nor we will have teams, nor we will have any possibility of self-ranking. So we are aiming to really reduce noise and get it to the most simplest form of fractal democracy. We had already 2 meetings. This is the video recording for the second meeting, which took place last Tuesday. There you see my face right here. We had 9 people attending, and it's been a kind of an unexpected challenge to communicate these ideas to people who is not that familiar with the problems we are currently facing regarding governance. Also, I participated in the Eden Fractal, whose record is whose recording you can see in this video too. There is my face over there, and I'll say, and in addition, I'm coincidentally creating a similar program. I thought it initially for our Spanish-speaking fractal, a similar program to what Jason is doing in order to automatize the consensus that people is living in Hive and create faster way to achieve, well, to show people the actual rankings and total respect allocated. So I think that'll be for me for now, and I'll give the turn to Dan Sinjoy.
Cool. Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Jorge. And thank you so much, everybody. I'll jump into a presentation to show what I've been doing to help Fractally and the practice, then the Genesis fractal and fractal governance in general. So I've been doing a lot of research this week. Yeah, I've been adding some of it to edencreators.com, which I think you guys have probably seen by now. I added a Genesis Fractal page recently. I'm not sure if you've seen that, Dan, but I'm working on building like a general resource for people to learn about Eden Fractal there, or Genesis Fractal and all fractals there. And then, yeah, I participated last week in the interviews that Patrick was talking about before. Patrick did the large majority of the work, but I joined 3 interviews talking about Eden Fractal and also co-hosting an interview with Albedo, which can help Fractal a lot, and Alien Worlds Fractal. And so this was also last week too. So I'm more so just showing it to promote it because I already did the interviews last week, but it also helps promote Patrick's work. So the conversation about Alien Worlds Fractal with Dwayne was awesome. Recently, I made another page for edencreators.com/Alien Worlds Fractal to help promote it in a similar way to Genesis Fractal and Eden Fractal. I also did that last week, but just showing it, or 2 weeks ago, Albedo. I've also been just researching Tadas's proposal, which can be helpful, but this was all last week again. This week, I made a proposal to the Eden Fractal team to invite Tadas the team, and I collected some of his work and so forth to help everybody understand it. And then I also helped to grow the Eden Fractal team with 9 members. We added Perry and Tadas and Vlad to the team. So that's really cool. I've also been in communication with Vlad, encouraging him to join more often. And then, yeah, I also did the interview with Patrick, and Patrick made awesome timestamps where you can see all the different topics that we discussed there. And then, yeah, so this week, more of the things that I've been working on a lot. So I put out the tweets for Eden Fractal week 10 and 11 to show the earnings of EOS and Eden Respect and so forth. And I shared it in a bunch of different chats to promote it. And then I also hosted the 12th Eden Fractal meeting, made a little bit of a thumbnail here. And then I put up the videos on edenfractal.com/video so people can see them there. And then I also put out a proposal for interim consensus process for Eden Fractal. We talked about that quite a bit at the last meeting, and it's basically the same as the original one, but using 4, 5, and 6 rather than just level 6. And also we're using Consortium rather than Hive. Consortium is an app on EOS. I've also been thinking about how we can use this more for the Eden Fractal. It's built by Vlad, and it works quite well. So far we have that proposal up, and I've also been thinking quite a bit about it since this call, and also this morning about different ways we could do it. So I'll review this closer and then see how we can integrate it and probably improve the proposal. A big thing that I'm working on for the past few weeks now is a campaign and a website to fund Eden builders, and people are building Eden Fractal, and I think that this can be generalized for the Genesis Fractal and all kinds of different fractals. So this has more specifics about, I think, why it's in the best interest of the ENF to help fund Eden Fractal and so forth, and recently made a bunch of articles to help show why it's in the best interest and so forth. Talking about how like Fractally empowers IBC and collecting some of Dan Larimer's tweets and so forth. So it's a lot of like kind of early works in progress, but I've just been adding to it gradually. I've also been watching all of Felix's videos to just learn more. One of the things I learned in Felix's last video was Joshua brought up that he's looking at this tool called Clarity.so, which is it's a tool that's quite advanced to allow DAO contributors to show their work and so forth, which I've been thinking of doing with a new site, like a community website that's managed by the interim consensus process, basically, where people can make profiles and stuff like that. So Clarity has a lot of helpful features. I've also just been exploring a lot of Ethereum DAOs and seeing how they do it. Cabin is one. They use Clarity quite a bit. They have like a creator cabin, cool thing. So I've just been exploring a lot. And then, yeah, this is the Clarity site. So a lot of just like behind the scenes research to try to figure out the best ways to manage fractals in addition to the social media app upcoming in these meetings. I've also been working on exploring BBS, which is a social media app, which I think maybe we can use in some different ways. And then I've been referring back to the white paper a lot of Fractally to see how that might be implemented on EOS in the near term to empower communities and just in general learning about it. Then I also just replied with a bunch of comments in the Eden Fractal chat to just share information with people who are newer to the community and so forth, and answer a bunch of questions. And I've also been exploring AI art generators, because I think this could be a helpful tool for Fractal communities as well. And I participated in the Chief Delegate meeting and spoke about Fractal quite a bit on the Chief Delegate meeting and also the Helios Twitter space this week. And then I also just retweeted and read James Mart's recent article. So that's that. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. I must say that this group is a tough group to have to leave 2 of you behind in round 1. I think everyone here should be going to round two, but the name of the game is we have to make a choice. So since we're not going to use the tool today, I am curious how you guys want to do this. Do we want to have everyone propose the bottom two, and then, or do we want to have everyone propose the top three? Either way, it's the same information, I suppose. How do you want to start?
I've seen proposing the top three work really well. There was a point where we had, like, for some reason, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at the end of a meeting, and everybody proposed the same top three, and then bang, we were basically done. We just had to sort out the last couple of people, and that was a quick, easy conversation. So you're right, it's the same thing to propose the top three and the bottom two in this case, but I think the top three kind of says the right message of we want to honor these particular contributions because we find them in this space, which is difficult to decide. We still find them the best three contributions.
Okay. This is not fair, guys.
I know it isn't fair at all.
That's why I say that's joking kindergarten, sometimes the voting part. But yeah, let's go ahead.
Well, one thing that might be helpful, I suppose probably obvious, but and so Dan Lerma, I think before you're mentioning how we might want to reach consensus on level 6 first to represent our decision in voting for the proposal that you made today. If I didn't misunderstand you,
We'll do that next week.
Oh, next week. Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, and are you aiming for 6 or are you aiming for second round? Wouldn't that be 8?
No, for second round didn't exist under the old rules, so we're going to do it under the old rules where we pick someone in the first round. Level 6 in the first round is who we're going to ratify the new rule, and then we'll have the new thing. If, of course, we have to factor in feedback from people like Jorge and others who had some questions there. So we're going to give it another week.
Clear.
I know I dropped that yesterday, and people haven't had time to take it in.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. So thanks for updating me on that. All right, so I've got my top 3 in order alphabetically ready to go. Is everybody else ready with that? Can we, are you ready to post that?
I'm not ready.
No?
I
Okay.
have no idea what to do right now.
Yeah, good point on alphabetically.
We can sort that out later, but it's easier if we do it at the beginning.
Yeah. So before I post this, I want to say this was really, really hard because I think each and every one of you needs to go on. So please, no judgment here. It's just the nature of the trolley car problem, right? You have to pick who you're going to run over with the car.
All my respect.
If I may, I think we still have 20 or almost 20 minutes left. I was wondering, Jason, how much time do you spend on doing the different kind of checks and updates and so forth that you were describing for the data?
It depends on how much coding I do. The last 2 weeks, I haven't done a lot of coding. So I'd say I'm skimping my way through maybe an hour worth of time last week. I really didn't do much. So
you did invite your sister and got your sister to show up.
Well, yeah, if you count the hours that I spent talking to her and onboarding her, there's that as well.
You got a girl to show up.
We will spend talking to her.
Yeah, she's well prepared and all hived up and stuff like that. So, but to be honest, I really only spent about an hour on the code and the ranking this week. I wanted to spend more and couldn't do it.
Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
Are you guys ready?
I am, yeah.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. 3.
It looks like Dan is still, or Dan Singjoy is still kind
of. I'm still very confused right now.
Yeah.
If I, man, I want to ask more questions, but I don't know.
Please do,
We
please do.
got 20 minutes. Go ahead, ask.
Okay,
Please do.
okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm curious. I suppose Jorge. So I suppose I could ask you a similar question. How much time are you investing into like helping out the Spanish fractal?
Well, there are several meetings that comprise that fractal. First of all, you have the meeting of the fractal itself, but also you have the previous meeting, preparation meeting, which I have with Carlos, which is the other Colombian that is coming to this Genesis fractal meeting. And also you have to do a lot of things to prepare it. So if you and also, for example, the program I'm creating, which is similar to JSON's, which I'm doing in Python, is related to that fractal, which is a bunch of hours that require myself, which I'm not a Python expert, to polish my knowledge in object-oriented programming and all that. So it's a lot. I'll say like 4 or 5 hours a day.
Okay,
Plus
thank
the
you.
eating fractal meeting and the other things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining, and thank you for all the great work too. I didn't realize that you're working on so much, so that's awesome.
Yeah, this is a very tough one because I know each and every person here is contributing above average. So, yeah, my
All right, let's guys do it. We need to do it and then discuss about it.
okay.
So whenever you are ready.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Have you got more questions then?
Dan, if it helps, take me out of the top 3.
I was
we don't
thinking
vote
about-
for ourselves. Huh?
I was thinking about.
Let me ask a question. Does anyone here want to voluntarily not go to round 2?
What's the question?
So Jason's voluntarily agreeing not to go.
I'm clear that
I-
there are
sorry,
3
I have
people
not
here who
understood the
contributed more than
question.
me this week. And so in that case, I don't expect to go to round 2 because I think
Ah,
it's really easy to point
okay.
out 3 people who've done more this week than me. So I'll just voluntarily say I don't expect to go to round 2.
why not?
Well, because there's 3 people here who've even outperformed me this week. So they should
Okay.
go to round 2 this week. And it's
We
all
never-
going to
we
work
never-
out.
We never know. We never know. Okay, so
Jason, I really appreciate everything you've contributed and your generosity yielding in this particular week.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll say I should have picked a different week to get my sister onboarded, but.
You can always get credit for it next week, right? It's not just 1 week. It's the sum total of your past contributions relative to your past recognition.
Yeah, I put a pretty hard decay on past contributions if we've already passed a week, but I get that and I'll mention it next week. But anyway, yeah, I'm ready to post and I'm not putting myself in the top 3.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Patrick, you posted 4 people.
No, Pat, you only posted
No,
3.
he's only got 3. He's got
Yeah,
you,
I
Dan
posted
Stingjoy,
3,
and
that's
himself.
correct.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
correct.
Yeah,
I posted 3.
sorry, Patrick.
Okay. So
I will make a distinction between Daniel Larimer and Dan Singjoy. That's what I put Singjoy in the name.
Yeah. So Dan Singjoy is in everybody's top group. Is there anybody else? Jorge is in everybody except Dan Singjoy's top 3. And then there's a lot of Dan and Patrick going on, and I don't know how that lands, but it looks like Patrick's got himself into more people's consensus.
Sorry.
Or
That's a mistake.
yeah.
I should not put myself.
What's
I
the
should
mistake
put
about
you,
that?
Jason. I have a lot of respect also for Daniel Larimer for sure. But
So I'm seeing that I'm in 1, 2, 3 groups, and there's 2 people that did not put me.
Actually, Dan, I only see you in yours and mine, and I don't see you in any of the other 3.
It's also
Oh,
in
I'm
mine
sorry, I
too.
was wrong. Dan Singjoy's in
I
there.
wrote his
Yeah,
full name.
yeah, that's right. My bad.
Yeah, so
All right, so what do we do here? We know Dan
Well-
Singjoy's in there, right? So then
Well-
we're talking about who are the next 2.
we're generally in agreement on
Well, I'll say why I didn't put Dan Larimer on my chosen 3. The reason is that I'm thinking about what's best for the whole community. So in that regard, maybe the time Dan will spend presenting his contributions in a second round, which he has done already many times, will be best spent for the community if he is released from his time and goes to do his other super important task in the ƒractal core team. So, like, we are incurring a cost opportunity highest in the case of Dan than in the case of anyone else. That's what I thought.
so you're gonna compensate the person who's most valuable the least? You're saying my time is most valuable for contributing to the community is the most
Right.
valuable, and so you're going to rank it lower because that 1 extra hour of my time is
Well, in these cases in which the competition is so tight, and
I'll make it really easy. I'm not going to the next round. I'm not using that extra hour for the community. I'm going to go have some fun. So there's no opportunity cost for the community. I just want
that
to
was my point.
destroy
I
the
don't wanna-
argument that there's an opportunity cost for me going to the
Yeah.
next round.
Yeah, I just
Exactly.
wanted to
Good choice.
present my line of thought.
I would
Okay.
say that Dan Larimer being in round 2 would also be an immense help for the community, because then he can provide, leadership and guidance and so forth and a lot of wisdom. And I think that Dan should absolutely be in the top 3. I mean, I think that Dan in general, like, he's contributing so much to the community, and I think that he should basically get top rank pretty much every week. I mean, other people are doing great stuff, but just the amount that Dan's contributing in terms of organizing this, sharing so much ideas and wisdom, and paying the team to build it and so forth. I think that Dan should definitely be in there. If it's necessary, then I'd be happy to just like ask everybody to change their votes for me to Dan, to make sure that Dan goes to the next round.
I'll put this a different way. And this is a way that I've seen be really, really insightful as we look at it. If we take the people that we're looking at and you say, if this person's contribution just didn't happen last week, and this person's contribution just didn't happen last week, and you only get to choose one of those 2. So, like, for me, a really tough one would be the 2 Dans, right? Like, so let's say that I only get to choose one of those 2 contributions last week and the other one didn't contribute anything. Then which one would I choose? Well, that'd be pretty tough. Now, when it comes to Dan Larimer and I, it's pretty easy, right? I want his job to get done, not what I did, because what he did is making a bigger contribution. So if we have to take one of our contributions away, it would be mine that disappears. And so I'm looking at, like, if I decide the value of a contribution based on if that one disappeared, if that didn't happen last week, how far back is the whole project being set? And I think without Dan's leadership and his coding last week, the project would be just way further back than I think anybody else's, right? So, like, Dan Singjoy did a lot of stuff to make sure that everybody knows, everybody he could touch knows what's going on with ƒractal. But if we don't have a blockchain, that don't mean squat, right? We can talk about it all we want. If we don't have a blockchain, it ain't gonna happen. We're just shooting in the wind. So
Yeah.
that's the way I see it. I'm not arguing that I'm doing this the right way, but I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to see it from a different perspective as they make these decisions, and then, do it however you're going to do it.
So I'm gonna throw out an interesting twist here. I think it's equally important to judge people based on how well, contributing in these meetings is a contribution. So when you send someone to the next round, they're contributing in that round, their judgment, and they're going to determine who is compensated in that next round. So from that perspective, based on, and I realize that this could be controversial in what I'm about to say, but if it's not obvious that I, in my contributions, are bigger than any other individual contribution, I wonder if what kind of judgments are going to be made in the next round. So I'm changing my opinion. I know this is not necessarily retaliation, but I just there's a value system here, and I'm valuing people with like-minded values a little bit more. So I think Jason and Dan Singjoy are the three. Myself, Jason, and Dan Singjoy are the ones that, and it's not just retaliation for not voting for me, but it's more of a value. It's a value system of, I really like the way Jason argued, because that's how I think about it. Which contribution would be most missed if it never occurred, and that's I really value what Jorge has done, creating another fractal, spreading that. It's really aligned. But if there's a this mindset here about things, I'm just going to stand by that.
I want to clarify. I just had a line of reasoning regarding what could be best for the community, and I was thinking loud. So please, guys, consider that I just had like 30 seconds to make the decision. Yeah, it's just a line of reasoning that I had. Like, maybe Dan has a lot of work to do, make the communities incurring an opportunity cost. So maybe we can release him of his time so he can produce more. Yeah, it sounds unfair, but yes, that was just my idea. It's not like the general line of thought that I have.
I appreciate the intention. All right, so it seems like we got 8 minutes and we've got nowhere.
Yeah,
so
well,
far.
we haven't gotten nowhere. We've gotten a lot of really good ideas expressed, and we've gotten a lot of good reason for people to be more clear about their decisions about things. Maybe they're more clear that they made the right decision the first time, or maybe they have different opinions. But I'd say we should just start over from where we were. Imagine that this first ordering, ranking, whatever we put out didn't happen, and then just do the same thing again. Put your top 3 in again. And let's see if we can get this decided on the second attempt. How does that sound, everybody?
Second.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1, go.
I haven't wrote.
Okay.
Yet, sorry.
Just for the record, the reason why I changed mine is originally I put Jason, I put you in the top 3. The only reason I didn't put you in the top 3 the first time was because you asked not to be. Your contributions to helping our team and write that software is it'd be very hard to do what we're doing without what you're doing. So that's something I personally value, because I see how it's helping us run this. And so that's why I did that. But I would be fine.
Well, I'll play along with that if you want.
But
Okay.
But I'm not going to argue for myself in the second round. So if it becomes a contention between me and somebody else, I'm going to back out. But I'll say this.
But I would also stand by my original vote of myself, Jorge, and Dan Singjoy being in the top 3. If there's agreement on that, I'd be happy with that. But
That is what I put in the first round, and so only because of what you said, Dan, did I change mine. So I'm just going to go right back to this.
So we have
Okay.
third, right?
So I think basically we've identified who the top 3 are, and now we need to choose between Jason and Patrick for the bottom 2. Right?
So who are the top three?
Well, Jorge and Patrick both said that, actually, Jorge, Dan, and Patrick, all three said that Patrick should be in the top three.
Sorry.
So that makes that a little tricky.
Yeah.
And let's remember, we got 4 minutes, and this is a tough room, and we might not get it right this week, and it's going to
Maybe then
average
you
out.
can do Dance Enjoy an argument about why I should be into the tree.
Yeah, sure. So it was exceedingly difficult for me to choose between Jorge and Patrick because I really value your contributions greatly. A couple of things that made me vote Patrick there was one, I think that like doing all the interviews and like all of the behind the scenes work and promotion and so forth. I know you also spent money promoting those and promoting 3 different videos about fractals. And then also,
Sorry.
okay.
I'm just very nervous about only having 3 minutes left. So can we just
We are
do,
still choosing the top three.
have we chosen the top 3?
Or are we still choosing the top three?
Well, I'm not sure whether Jorge or Patrick is in the top 3. I've got Jorge in the top 3 and Patrick not in the top 3, but I think other people have it differently.
I agree with you, Jason. It's
So if we have reached consensus on Dan and myself, and then it's basically whether Patrick or Jorge will go on, then I think that currently, how many does Jorge have? 3 and Patrick has 2? Is that correct?
raise your
Or-
hand for Jorge. All right, so there's 3 for Jorge. So
I think Patrick voted for Jorge as well too.
Yeah. So I think Jorge, so we know who the top 3 are: Dan, Jorge, and Singjoy. And then let's just vote real quick on Jason versus Patrick. So just to be consistent with my previous rankings, I'm going for Jason.
Okay, I'll go with Patrick.
I'll go with Patrick too.
All right, so
I'm going with Patrick as measured by the number of hours and intensity of work he has done. He's done several interviews, at least 4 to 5 interviews.
And not only that,
that's
I have
only
given
the last week.
2,200 EOS to Hidden Fractal.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna
he's
mention that as
actually
well.
money. All right, I can go with that.
Sorry
All
to
right.
say the money, I don't love the money, but without 2,200 EOS, there will be no Hidden Fractal going on. And for the
Yeah,
EOS bees,
I'm
Jesse
fine with
Jaffe,
that.
I gave also
I'll put Patrick ahead
2,000
of me this week.
EOS to Jesse Jaffe for the EOS bee swarms, so no marketing. Okay, we have to help us between us, letting circulate more EOS. Liquidity dance, liquidity velocity. Mike Maloney, that interview we done last year about the Miracle Animal book, he said we have to do a liquidity dance.
All right. Are we all in agreement on the spelling? Look at the one I posted, make sure I spelled everyone's name right, or spelled your name right.
Looks correct to me.
All right.
This was the toughest and most interesting room I've ever been.
This is the hardest room I've ever completely lost.
Yes, it was.
That doesn't count. That's the contribution that counts.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. Really don't worry.
I am not paying attention too much about that, to be
It's
honest.
really tough, this group was. And that's why I think it's good that things are being averaged over time.
Yeah.
And your compensation each week is not based on this instantaneous measurement, but your average measurement. So next week, your average will be adjusted up. So
Priority to my wife next week.
yeah, this shows you that this room demonstrates why you can't use any single week, because you put a bunch of really great people in one room, it's almost impossible because
Yeah.
I just, yeah. So.
Well,
So now time isn't over.
Yeah, well, so I wanted to ask Dan Singjoy, there's some project that you mentioned in your rapid fire machine gun of stuff that you're going to accomplish this week. And I don't think we can get to what it was in 60 seconds, but it was in the beginning and it was something that looked super interesting to me. And I just didn't even, you went so fast, I didn't even write down what it was. So can you just spitfire a couple of the things that you contributed?
It was things that I built or things that I was researching.
No, something that you discovered or were testing or something like that.
Well, I've been
And it was
exploring
early.
early. So I just go through the slides if you want. So this ƒractal,
Yeah, just go through the slides really fast.
The interviews with Patrick, Alien Worlds, =Fractal, Albedo.
Hold on.
What's up?
Albedo, what is
Okay.
that?
Albedo is
Was
a
the blockchain overlay protocol.
it's a protocol made by
ALBEDO?
TDAS. Yeah, you can
Watch
check out the
the
interview on
interview.
Nova Crypto. And then
30 seconds.
he wrote a white paper basically about how plutocratic blockchains can be empowered by fractal governance using Eden Fractal and EOS as an example. He has an article
Okay,
here.
got it.
I'll share it in the chat as well.
That
Great,
could help
thank you so
even
much.
on EOS,
You're welcome.
Fractally, EOS, every blockchain, every DAO.
Okay, I got that link. That's exactly what I needed. Wade, well done. I didn't think we could do that.
Sounds
In
great.
layman
We did it.
terms.
Thanks for the great meeting, everybody.
I
All
hope
right,
you will
thank
enjoy.
you.
You guys.
Okay, bye.
We had 4 newbies in the same room together.
Wow.
Wow.
What are the odds? We
Ah.
had 5 super contributors all in one room. And it was the hardest thing ever, having to leave two of them behind. So it was definitely an exercise in proving the point that no single week's measurement is an accurate measurement, and this is all about measuring over time. Because we are forcing ourselves to have to rank people that, in my opinion, every single person in the room probably deserved to be in round 2. So yes, Tommy.
How you doing, Dan? To that point, you know, I think it's natural too, that we're, you know, so the next time that Fractally expands and we really get an influx of new people, a lot of the people that it's hard to leave out, they're going to be rewarded when a new flush of people come in, and you know, so I think it's natural, and I think it's a sign that we're at the point where we're ready for an expansion, because although people rank lower, we're all adding a lot of value. If everyone's adding a lot of value, I mean, that's a good thing. And then it's just setting fertile grounds for when the expansion does come. And then over time, people will be rewarded accordingly, I feel. So I just want to kind of make that point.
Yeah. Yep. Which is why it's good to, you know, we try to discount contributions that are way in the past, but it's definitely worthwhile to consider contributions in the past month or so, or anyone who's done a lot and just hasn't received relative recognition. It might take a lot to build up there. So yeah, you know, Jason over here, who created the software that we use to make sure all the numbers are correct, and he took the lowest ranking in our group today. So Jason, floor is yours.
Well, the really funny part about that is I invited my sister also this week and onboarded her and got her in here, and that still wasn't enough to get me above the lowest position in that room. And the real juicy part of this though is my sister is going around too in her first meeting. So it is clearly not fair in any particular week. But over time, it's going to be fine. And I've got no problem with this at all. I think it's great to have her have the opportunity to see both rounds the first time, so she knows what's going on. I think that's really great. And she's probably going to lord it over me, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about it.
Not at all. Love you, brother. Actually, I was going to say, can you stay on the phone with me and help me through the second round?
No, you'll do fine. You already got in the second round and I didn't. You're going to do fine. just keep doing what you're doing. It's working. All right, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, guys. Jason, did you have a question, or Gregory? You both had your
No, I
hand.
just wanted to say that.
Sorry. Nathan, I meant Nathan. Did you have something? To say?
Yeah, I guess. So can you I want to make sure I heard correctly. Could you reiterate what you said before we jumped into our groups about how you should be choosing like the highest contribution? I heard something along the lines of like you should be choosing what's like the contribution that like would affect the most people, or was it affects you personally the most or benefits you?
That you see benefits the most community members. Like if you view you as the bigger you of the community, the person who's contributing the most to the other members of the community versus contributing to non-members of the community, I guess is the difference, right? And factor in that value. And if you are valuing, I mean, that's a really good sign that, hey, I am glad this person made this contribution because I benefited from it. That's the easiest thing to observe because you know you benefited. That's easiest. It's harder to judge what other people value and contributed to them. But I'm just use your own sense there as a test. It's not a perfect test because if someone just gives you money, they can't just buy your vote. But that is, but now if they give everyone money, oh, great. They just help fund everyone here. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful contribution that we should recognize. So
well, and I asked for the clarification because it almost seems as if, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but it seems like the normies will be voting based on their own personal interests almost all the time. Like the average person isn't going to want to try and gauge what's best for the community as a whole. They're going to end up voting in their own interests. So I don't know if we're experimenting more with that.
The benefit of doing the first round random, right? If you got a bunch of normies, if you're assigned a group with a random person, if the chances that they randomly did something for you personally is relatively small. And so if they did happen to do something for you personally, that's a good sign that maybe they did something for a lot of other people personally as well. And because it's a statistical sample of things. So that's why randomization is there. It's because even with the randomization, even if each person is like judging things by their own interest, to the extent the individuals themselves are aligned with the group mission, your interests will overlap in a large degree with other people's interests, and consensus will work things out.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have 7 minutes before we go to round 2. I would like to. Are we staying in this room, Joshua? What's the process this week?
Yeah, we're going to use the same process we have been. So quick PSA now, if you're not moving on to round 2, now's a good time to leave the meeting. And if you don't leave the meeting,
you can stay until 5 minutes but please leave with a couple of minutes left for us to.
Yeah, if I put you in the waiting room, that's going to be the new process today, because then you'll be able to rejoin. If I actually like remove you from the meeting, then the way the settings are, you can't rejoin. So if I put you in the waiting room, that just means that that's where you need to be, because we're going to randomize the group for round 2. And I also put the link to the Discord voice channel in the chat. If you want to click there, there's already 1 or 2 members over there. Carlos is over there right now.
There's another thing that came up in this round that is a factor that was, I think, relevant. A contribution that people make is their judgment of other people's contributions. So in round 1, the people you send to round 2, you want to make sure that they're aligned with your judgments on things, because that's going to impact how other things are compensated. And that's a little bit representative there. So, and when you have a really, really tough room where everyone you think should go to the next round, sometimes that can be a really important tiebreaker, is who do you think is going to value the same things as you in the next round? So that was an element that came up in our room. Dan Singjoy recorded it, so you guys will get to view all the drama.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that sooner too. I've been kind of going with your suggestion, Dan, of not sharing the past month or so. But if you'd like, I can share that in the Telegram group or something, or in the ƒractal site, like sooner rather than later.
You can hold off on it if use your best judgment there. I'm just saying that there's a lot to be learned when there's a disagreement about what to value.
Yeah, sounds good.
Nathan.
Agreed.
Do line breaks in the replies on the blog post, will they be taken care of by the script that parses it, or should we
Yeah,
only
they'll
have
be
a
taken
single?
care of. I write that script. Don't worry about it. I prefer one line, but I'll handle it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thanks to Jason. We can handle that easily.
Nerd. Just kidding.
All right. Just for the record, we are not having any consensus meeting after round 2. We're going to do that next week. The other thing to remember is every week you get compensated even if you don't show up. Your compensation only ceases when it's been 12 weeks without you showing up and you cease to be a member. So the result of each week is an increase or decrease in your compensation based upon the average level that you make. So that's something to keep in mind if you had questions about why people got respect last week when they didn't even show up. Jordan.
Just a quick clarification question about the, you mentioned in the pre-meeting something about average level and taking into account zeros or something for missed meetings. I just wanted to see if you could elaborate on that or clarify that.
Yeah, so you take whatever average level you have, and then this week you get a new level. You take the old average, you multiply it by 5, you add the level you got this week, which might be, if you showed up, you got 1 or higher. If you didn't show up, you got a 0. And that becomes your average for next week. And then your compensation is based on the Fibonacci of your average. So if you don't show up a couple of weeks in a row, your average is going to fall as your compensation falls. And then you show up, your average will go up. The shape of the curve is that it grows slowly and then quickly. It's kind of an S curve, and then it falls quickly and then there. So not showing up can impact your average, but over time, I think it weights more recent contributions greater than past contributions.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering about it in terms of if people getting zeros would potentially have the impact of dropping too many people below like a threshold for being able to be in the, like even if you're getting 6s and then you get a few zeros, like you might just be below or 8s, anyway.
Yeah, it's rewarding regular attendance. It's kind of built in there. You can probably handle 1 or 2 zeros. And if you come back and you do well, you'll be back in there for a while, but regular attendance is highly weighted in the algorithm. All right. I think we're going to have 5 groups of 5 in this next round. You ready to just go ahead and do the breakout if everyone's ready to go?
Yeah, I think we're ready now. I think I've verified everyone on the list here. Again, you should only be moving on if you are part of the top 3 of your consensus order that's the people that's moving on to round 2. And I think everyone here is on that list. I've done some double checking. Stan has got a weird name right now because I think he's having trouble adding his name. So I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably should know. It almost looks like Espanol. Quixote's phone is Stan. Quixote, like Don Quixote.
Yes.
All right. Okay, just a second. We're going to recreate the rooms. We can do 4 rooms with 5 to 6 people according to Zoom here.
Okay.
So it's going to be 3 rooms of 6 and 1 room of 5. Actually, I think when I join, it'll have 6. That doesn't make sense though.
There's 25 participants. We should have 5 rooms of 5.
24 participants on my list.
Oh, I guess that's because Carlos is in the waiting room. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. I'm opening up the room. Same protocol as before. Countdown, 45 minutes, and then 60-minute delay after the room closes. And we'll see you guys back here. Have fun.
All right. Thank you. Wow, we meet again.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everybody.
Hello. So I got 2 of the people from my first group, Dancing Joy and Jorge, and some other great contributors.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, everybody, I am recording. We'll share at some point soon.
All right.
I'll go real quick. I've been continuing to fund the team. This week, I invited EOS Detroit to participate as block producers. I have not seen them here, though. I've asked them to show up and participate in the fractal governance on the weekly process if they want to be block producers. Then been working on proposals that we're discussing here. Some of the Fractally team has done that, got the blog post out there. Been really working on the blockchain infrastructure, making sure that that is ready for release, including the effectively the white paper and copy and things for the website, and just really getting those ideas nailed down so that we can communicate them. Because we're just a couple of weeks away from opening all that up. The team's been working really hard on all that. So that's my contribution. I've done enough. I guess I'm going to pass it to Gregory because he's on my top left corner.
All right. Thank you, Dan. I've done 2 posts on Go Fractally. One is a window of ongoing respect, which describes the calculations with regards to the addendum 1. And it explains also a little bit about distribution. So go ahead and check it out. Another post that was done last week was the avoiding groupthink. And the idea was to provide insight for people to really stay critical with regards to the contributions you're hearing and ensure that they align with the values of the community. As you know, I continue to work on the Genesis tally sheet, and that sheet is what helps us best understand and guide over time because we don't have a chain in which we do it manually. That sheet was updated to handle the addendum 1 calculations. I also made some updates to account for members who joined teams late. So if a team started months ago and new members are added, that they're appropriately awarded respect. Also, I have a weekly standing meeting with our legal team that is creating this UNA agreement. This is UNA standing for Unincorporated Nonprofit Associations. And the purpose of this is to reduce liability and provide a structure for fractals. The idea is to create a template document that as each fractal comes into being can apply and use in order to reduce liability and give proper structure for us so that we can continue practicing fractal governance with the least impediment from the outside possible. As you know, I also co-host these weekly Go Fractally meetings with Joshua. We prepare, generate, and publish the tally sheet. So, all right, thank you very much. And I'm going to hand the baton to Mark Scheer. Mark, you're muted.
Unmuting and preparing a quick link as I've done weekly, working with that process of communicating a list of items that would speak to the 3 questions we're asked. That is, what have we done to build the tech, raise awareness, grow adoption? Did we invite anybody? And what are our long-term Fractally contributions? So I posted that link and it's long form, but at the top, we'll see more of a condensed version of that contribution. And ultimately, we're testing this platform. We're exploring its productivity function / value, and we're exploring its sustainability kind of A to D reward function. Also, this exercise is fun. It fits with our personal interests for purposes of expression. So, that's I kind of think that's a good summary of what we're doing. And then specifically for this week, I invited a machine learning academic, Quinn Cunningham, young fella that understands machine learning like most people are unable to. And he specifically applies that to translation. So as a leader of the EOS Translation Foundation team on ƒractal, that is exploring the coordination function that ƒractal provides to, say, a team that's interested in translation, he's really a valuable person to connect with. And so we set up a Hive count this week, and it took about an hour with maybe about 50 unexpected events, and depending on desktop, mobile, this working, that, and management of keys and all that stuff. It's fresh and it's new with a lot of people, but we were successful within 1 hour, and he's here today. So not only did we do an introduction last week between Quinn and our tech group, Translate Me, but on back of that, I said, hey, I think both you two could come to this ƒractal as an introduction to take a look at something that's interesting. So Quinn did make it today, and I'm really happy. I'm looking forward to talking with him this week. Also, beta test new Telegram API. That is Translate Me is going from Google Translate to using their own machine learning translation models for about 23 languages. Originally, they only had about 5 on their Telegram app. So beta testing a new Translate Me function. We held a weekly ETF meeting before this meeting. And again, I spoke to invites, but cumulative is approximately 25, depending on how you add it up. And our team members, they contribute a boatload. Cruz is a part of the team, and he would be an example with a very, very exciting report for the stuff he's doing. And Dwayne Philippi, everyone knows probably, and Oscar and Marco. And there's
Can I ask some questions about your translation? How many community members' posts have you translated?
Of our ƒractal community?
Yeah. Gregory's made some posts, other people have made some posts. How many of those do you translate?
None.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe some in Russian. I think if you've ever done any Cruz, I knew we mentioned a translation generator for the ƒractal community once we had documentation, but that's like kind of in a couple of weeks or whatever, we'll be releasing deeper levels of that. But yeah, and be a good thing to build is a ƒractal dedicated translation portal, but we have not built that. So
Is this a service that anyone can use? Or is this something where you're choosing what to translate and what to publish?
we choose what to translate, what to publish, really what to work on.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a good, I think, subset of what the team is doing, I'll pass now on, say, to Cruz speak to that translation function that Dan's talking about.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Cruz?
Yes. Am I reporting my contribution?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I'm reporting for 2 weeks because I missed a meeting last week. I was out of the city without connection. And I posted the link on Hive blog. Please, if you can open and upload, that would be great. Thank you. So I'm working on promoting ƒractal governance, ƒractal democracy, and the idea and the technology to Russian-speaking community. And as I was mentioning before, I'm working with a community that is already have 2 blockchains of their like in their ecosystem, and these are professional multi-level marketing people, and they build up to 100,000 people, a community of up to 100,000 people last year. So they know how to promote blockchain and tokens. And we organized 2 Zoom calls already, and I was leading these calls last week and the week before. And I translated the ƒractal agreement so they can sign it. I translated presentation that Joshua gave me, and I made a new one, my own Russian presentation for a ƒractal. And I presented it in a live interview today, which lasted for an hour and a half, and which had over 100 live viewers. And it's going to be also uploaded to YouTube channels, and it will have around a few hundred views at least. And I supervised development, and during these 2 weeks, I have a student, a young guy who's also on the Genesis ƒractal in another breakout room right now. And he is developing a bot, a Telegram bot, which is my idea, and I'm helping him to do that. That shows your ranking. So if you give that bot your Hive name, it will look up a Google sheet and find the stats, and will show you that stats. And it will also show once the sheet is updated, it will notify you that you got rewarded a new level. So there is a new updated statistics. You got tokens, like that's the idea. So once you get tokens, you get notified on Telegram that you have that. I also published chapters from the More Equal Animals book separately, because I published the complete book before. But now I see that it's more, people read it more easily, like when I publish just a chapter. So now I'm publishing this whole book by chapter, and I published 5 chapters this and last week on all my channels: Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, Medium, Hive, LinkedIn, and LinkedIn. Yes.
How many people do you reach with that?
I'm reaching about 2,000-3,000 people right now. So yes, and I also have my permanent Telegram channel that I started a month ago, which has 150 people right now. But since I'm working with this community that has, all the members of this community are getting the message, and they're falling in love with ƒractal democracy, the ƒractal system. You just can't imagine that the leaders, they can't wait to start doing ƒractal. And I translated what else? Created a set of instructions, preparations, and I ordered 5 copies of More Equal Animals book printed, 2 in English, 3 in Russian, so I can give them away, and a T-shirt and a mug and a cap. That is for this week. So the most important thing is that I'm starting these new ƒractal. It's going to be called Roy Club ƒractal, and hopefully this will bring a lot of people on board.
Can you send me the link to buy the Russian copy? I want to have a physical copy of the Russian one as well.
I'll send you. Well, I'll try to send you somehow. I don't know how yet, but yeah. Okay, sure. Thank you. That's it for this week.
All right.
Shkuza, I just wanted to ask you just quickly, thanks for all the contributions. Do you have links to some of these contributions? Like, I'd like to listen to the Roy ƒractal interview if it's an interview, and also just as a recommendation, I think having links in this Hive post would be helpful to be able to further explore.
Yes, the interview, it's all in Russian. That's why I didn't put any links here right now. Oh, but I'll send you all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yes. Next is
Sorry, I have a question for you, Shakros. It's just that I missed. You said you met with a guy who's building a bot that relates Hive on Telegram.
He's my student. Yes, he's
your student.
Mentor.
So you're instructing him on how to do these things. Okay.
Yes. I didn't have time to dig into the code myself. I do help him to do that, and I'm working on another thing. And I started doing a smart contract that I want to deploy on the new blockchain this week as well.
What blockchain?
Oh, the new one, ƒractally.
Oh,
yeah. going to be very interesting smart contract and adapt. Good. Any questions? Shall I choose the next one?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
Then Sinjo is next on my screen.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Cruz, and thank you so much, everybody. It's awesome to see what everybody's doing. I'll share a presentation of what I've been doing to help the Genesis Fractal and Fractal and Fractal governance in general. So I've been making some minor modifications to EdenCreators.com. One thing I did this week was I fixed the background, which actually didn't load correctly, but I just did some minor edits to fix it how it looks. And I'm promoting Genesis Fractal right near the top and building a page for it. I shared some of this with Dan and Jorge, so I'll go quickly. But last week I did an interview with Patrick about Eden Fractal on the Nova Crypto channel, and I also co-hosted interviews with Dwayne Felipe about the Alien Worlds Fractal and Tadas about the Albedo protocol, which can help empower blockchains that use plutocratic governance with fractal governance. So you can check that out. Patrick did majority of the work, and this was last week, so it's not really a contribution so much for this week, but I want to promote it. And then 2 weeks ago, I also put together a page for Alien Worlds Fractal. And so I'm doing this for Genesis Fractal and Eden Fractal, just to provide introductory information on EdenCreators.com where people can learn about all these things. And then the interview with Tadas about Albedo. And then I did a lot of research last week about the Albedo protocol. It's very interesting. This week, I also proposed to the Eden Fractal team that we invite Tadas to join the team, and I shared a bunch of his work to encourage people to learn more about Tadas. And then we voted in Tadas and Perry and Vlad into the Eden Fractal team on Genesis Fractal. I've also been talking with Vlad a lot to encourage him to join more. And then, yeah, I participated, or I did the interview about Eden Fractal, and you can check out the timestamps in the video from Nova Crypto. And then this week, I also put out the tweets for Eden Fractal Week 10, 11 EOS and Eden distributions. And I also shared it in a bunch of different chat rooms. So putting the word out, I hosted the Eden Fractal meeting and put together a little thumbnail there, and then uploaded the videos to edenfractal.com/videos. And then this week I also I've been putting together for the past few weeks, but I refined it and I shared it with the group a proposal for the Eden Fractal interim consensus process, which is based off the original consensus process. And we talked about it a lot over the past week. And I think that we'll also update it too. I outlined some differences and so forth here on the site. It's all on EdenCreators.com. And we also have a poll on Consortium, which is an app that Vlad is building in the Eden and EOS community. And I think that this could be helpful for just general fractal stuff too. I've been thinking about how this can empower fractal communities. So yeah, I shared that. I've been planning to integrate that as of the last hour or so, the addendum. And then for the past couple of weeks, I've been working on a campaign and a new website to fund Eden Builders. And it's kind of going to be like a social media site, a little bit like a collective community website. So first, it's like a campaign to raise funding from the ENF and showing why Fractally and Eden Fractal provides public goods and how it inspires videos and tooling and stuff like that. I had a bunch of articles I wrote a while ago. This is all drafts, also talking about IBC and social media. I listened to all of Felix's videos to just hear what everybody's talking about. He's been uploading it, and I did a lot of research. Joshua spoke about a tool called Clarity.so during that meeting. So I started to research this tool, and as well as a bunch of other tools like Coordinate and so forth in the Ethereum ecosystem that are helping communities cooperate, and also research DAOs like Cabin, who are using these tools to empower communities and so forth. So a lot of time was just spent researching and planning for the future. I also spent a lot of time researching BBS this week as a way to perhaps use the social media aspects of the Fractally white paper to find it in the Fractally white paper, but do it with apps that are already built and operational as well before that's ready. So I've been researching that and then referring to the white paper quite a bit this week to learn more and think about these ideas. And I've been posting comments and messages and so forth in the Eden Fractal Discord, and lots of stuff behind the scenes, lots of writing behind the scenes that I haven't shared here really. But these are things that I've kind of delivered so far this past week or so. I've also been doing a lot of research into AI art generators and shared that with the Eden Fractal. I think this can be, a lot of these tools can be super helpful in addition to these Fractal meetings. So I'm excited to share more details about those soon. And then I also participated and shared a bunch of ideas about Fractal governance in the Eden Chief Delegate meeting this week, on the Helios Twitter space this week. And I also retweeted Tadas's tweet, and I retweeted and read James Mart's post as well as the other stuff going on in the meeting. And that's that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. I hope that wasn't boring and super repetitive for you and Jorge.
No, it's okay.
So I have a question for both Dans. The Dans, in some of the contributions you mentioned were not related to Fractally nor fractal democracy, but to Eden, for example. And I remember Dan Larimer mentioning a few weeks ago that we are somehow in competition with the EOS platform. So how should we grade those contributions? It's really an open question. Is it for this community? Is it against this community? I mean, contributions related specific to EOS and Eden, but not Eden Fractal.
Well, Eden was the first birthplace of fractal governance, uses fractal representative democracy. If Eden is successful, I think it's good for the general concept. Everyone involved with Eden is learning some of the principles that led to Fractally. So, and Eden is definitely based on the book More Equal Animals. So from that sense, I think it's somewhat aligned. Now, if we ask the question, how do the members of our community directly benefit from that? If there's a lot of members in our community that are also in Eden and support EOS, so they're getting some benefit from that as well. How aligned is that from the with the mission of Fractally? When I say we're competing, I'm in a friendly kind of competitive way. So I don't want to be in the business of tearing down or punishing contributions to EOS. I don't think it hurts us, and I don't think our goal should be to hurt them. But obviously, contributions that are wholly focused on Fractally and Fractal and or Fractal Eden are more valuable than contributions to Eden. You can mention them, but it's all a weighting scale, and it's fuzzy over time, and so forth. Dan speaks really, really fast. He goes through a really, really long list of contributions he's made over time. He's one of the highest individual contributors historically for Fractally. So I think that there's a number of elements here on there to consider with him. So I hope I answered your question. I'll let Dan answer it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. Yeah, so a couple of things that that came to mind for me. So I think that working on the Eden fractal is super aligned with the Genesis fractal and Fractally as a whole. I mean, contributions directly building to the Genesis fractal, I think, are most aligned probably. But like the Eden fractal, basically the way I'm thinking about it in many ways, it's like pioneering the fractal process and promoting the fractal process to the EOS network. There's thousands of people in the EOS network who are like great and very talented people. It's a $1 billion network. People who know Fractally better than most people in the world because of the similarities in communities. So by promoting the Eden fractal, we're promoting Fractally to this huge kind of like target audience or people who may be very interested in it, and provides an opportunity to show them how it works when we prove the success with Eden Fractal, and then also just advertise for it as well. So we can combine success and so forth. Also, mutual respect can be formed with the respect that the team earns as well, which I think is a great idea, so that both communities win when the Fractally community and the EOS communities win. And then, yeah, I completely agree with what Dan was talking about, like friendly competition, like co-opetition. Like one of the things I said during the last Eden Fractal meeting is like, I want to encourage the EOS network to help build tools for Fractally. Dan gave an awesome speech like 2 months ago about how it's about the process. It's not so much about the particular tool you use, but if we're able to inspire the EOS community to also build these tools and put funding and so forth behind them, then it'll be more people building great tools for fractal governance. And I think that's super helpful. And then also a lot of the work that I'm doing in terms of like building collaborative websites and researching these different tools, I think that these are helpful for all different fractals as well. So a lot of the kind of tooling that goes along with it and so forth. But I don't want to speak for too long, but yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah, we're down to 20 minutes. We got one person to give their summary, and then we got to reach consensus really quickly, which is going to be hard considering all the great contributions. I've seen this movie. Jorge.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll share my screen again. many of you, maybe many of you guys know here that I've created. Since I first got in touch with this process, I began to analyze it and think very deeply about it. So I created this series of posts. The first, the second one of which was this one called Towards Statistical Simulation of Fractal Democracy, in which I identify the relevance that noise plays within these systems, the importance of sincerity within each ranking session. And since then, I began to advocate against self-ranking, given the really difficulty in measuring sincerity in itself. Each of these posts is a really deep dive into the traits of fractal democracy. I also created this other post on possible attack vectors on fractal democracy, on which I identify that whoever manages the mental zeitgeist of the era, meaning whoever manages the power of the media and manages to control the ideas who are driving a population, also can control these systems, because these systems are actually reflect the consensus of the people. So if that consensus can be altered by an external actor, then that external actor also gains power upon this process. Then, I created also several posts. For example, this one related passive income on fractal democracy. And all this was done several weeks ago, but my analysis led me to the creation of the Spanish-speaking fractal, which is a much recent contribution from last week and the week before that, which I'm showing right now on the Go Fractally website. Here I am responsible of, I'm responsible of first creating the fractal, second doing what pretty much Joshua is doing for this fractal, which is hosting it, and I'm hosting it with Carlos Rizzo, which is also coming to these meetings. I mean, the Go Fractally meetings. I'm also responsible for doing the accounting of respect accumulated. And the purpose of this fractal is, initial purpose of this fractal is both to propagate fractal democracy towards all the Spanish-speaking population, which is comprised of about 22 countries, around 500 million people. On first place that, and on second place, to serve as a control group for the rapid innovation that this Genesis fractal is doing. So, for example, in that Spanish-speaking fractal, we are not doing second round as of now. We are also not implementing teams. We are also not allowing for any kind of self-ranking. So I'm aiming for it to be the simplest possible version of fractal democracy, against which more sophisticated groups can compare. We had already 2 meetings. This is the video from our second meeting.
Right. Yeah, I just want to pay attention to time, so please. So we already had 2 meetings. Last one was last Tuesday. We had an attendance of 9 people, and the first one was the week before last one, the week before this one, so last week, with an attendance of 7 people. Finally, I attended also the Eden Fractal meeting, which is hosted by Dan Sinjoy, in which I also discussed about the interim proposal mechanism. And finally, I'm also doing a program for getting the data of the consensus from Hive and doing the accounting automatically. I'm doing it on Python. So thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. All right. We will begin by ranking what we believe to be the best contribution, level 8. Raise your hand when you're ready to place your vote. Okay.
Well, I'd like to propose, guys, before we do the voting, that we do not self-rank. It's in cases of teams where we have such big contributors, it's not really hard to find other contributors that maybe did a greater job than us, and it's better for the process because it extends, it makes us abstract us from the whole process. So if you guys agree and are willing to not do it, I'll go against sub-ranking.
I think everyone's free to make their own decision when they cast their vote, when they express their opinion. All right. Go ahead, Gregory.
All right, raise your hand if you're ready, and then we'll do a count. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, Dan is level 8. We're moving on to level 7. When you're ready, raise your hand at 3. Oh, we don't have, raise your hand when you're ready. All right, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Wow, thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. Ready to do level 6? Raise your hand when you're ready.
This one's hard.
This one is hard. 3.
I'm not ready
Are you
yet.
not ready? Oh, you're not ready. Okay.
I'm not ready. All right.
Okay, ready.
All right, we're good to go, Jen. All right.
Jorge, are you ready?
No, give me 10 seconds, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, in level 6, in 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh.
Is it 2, 2, and 2?
How about 3?
Wow.
I could get behind Dan Singjoy if in the name of consensus.
And I could get behind Chacruz.
Yeah, I feel strongly for Chacruz.
I've updated my vote.
I mean, between the two of them, my God, you know, some fabulous contributions. But
Right now, there's 3 for Chacruz, and 1 for Dan Singjoy, and 1 for Jorge, and 1 for Aguirre. Oh, 2 for Jorge, excuse me.
I voted for Jorge because he has been, longer in the journey of creating new ƒractal. But I can change it to myself. I don't know if that's okay.
All right, so if you change to yourself, does that give us 3 votes for you?
4.
Yeah.
4, because that's 4.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, Chacruz.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to level 5. Level 5. Okay, raise your hand when you're ready.
All right.
All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, Dan, congrats.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, on to level 4.
Why do I see? Oh, okay, 4 to 2. Okay.
Okay, raise your hand when you're ready. All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. Jorge, all right, level 4.
Okay.
Level 3.
Wait, who's left?
Mark.
That's it.
All right, so let me post a list here. Please check the spelling.
This was another very, very hard group to rank, so I'm not sure I'd rank it consistently week to week. I had a
Great.
Yeah, it was very difficult because everybody's doing amazing contributions. Thankfully, we did do it quickly, so that was nice. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody's contributions, and it seems like more and more difficult every week to do the rankings.
Well, the one easy
wonder-
thing is that we're able to cast a free vote and we're able to document it on a blockchain. So that's very easy. As long as we can just come up with an answer.
I wonder if, for example, I had more time to make the voting. I have voted equally. I felt really rushed. For example, when I recap my idea of what Cruz did, I would probably have ranked him higher.
Yeah, the dark side of consensus. But the goodness is that we can actually reach consensus and document it.
And there's always compromises that are being made and gut things which are hard to explain. You know, one of yeah, it's hard to judge all these different things because everyone is working in slightly different angles and they're not necessarily even on the same dimension of value. So it's not like we can, how do you compare a Spanish community versus a Russian community? Right? They're both valuable communities in their own right. And then of course, there's other languages which has very difficult to directly benefit the Genesis fractal. Right, English contributions directly benefit our members, whereas non-English contributions benefit the mission, but it's more our community giving to other people rather than directly giving back to our community, even indirectly.
Please bear in mind that being a Spanish speaker doesn't mean being monolingual. Many of people from Europe and from Latin America speak several languages. Particularly, I guess about of the 500 people that comprise Spanish-speaking population, maybe 10%. That is about 50 million people that also speak Spanish. Also, many of the Spanish speakers reside in the United States, which make them also English speaker. And the same for Russian speakers or French speakers or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd like to share, since we already voted, just some details about this community. So it's not just a Russian-speaking fractal, which is just about the language. I'm working with an existing community of people who have been together for over 3 years. And these are people, they have ideology behind them. They're not just multi-level, they are professionals in multi-level marketing, though, most of them. But the idea behind the community is change the world together. So they have a book written by another Russian man called Changing the World Together. And it's about the changing the financial system, because that's the core of most of the problems today. And by introducing crypto money, private money, not private, public money, as we can say, the new currency. And that's what they are behind. And last year, leader of this community, because they had a tremendous success last year. They generated a large community of 100,000 people, and the leader of this community was kidnapped, and he was, extorted by police, by Russian police. All his Bitcoin wallets, like he had to give 2,000 Bitcoin to these police men. And now he's hiding in Ukraine. He's not showing his face. He said he's done plastic surgery, but he's still he got back because he had to go missing for some months, like 3-4 months. Now he's back and he's resurrecting the community. And once what they learned, and he learned, and the leaders learned about fractal, the idea of fractal democracy, they were amazed, because it is so much in line with what they have been building and with what they wanted to build. But they didn't know that there is a tool that is already being built on the West, because they don't speak English. Like most of them, they just can't participate in our Genesis Fractal meetings. They wouldn't read the book, if it wasn't Russian. So they are really amazed. And what I have discovered with them is that the principle that we've been discovering in the fractal democracy had already been known and used in Russia before Romanov's era of Tsars. So in the pre-Christianity Russia, they had fractal democracy.
Wow.
Yeah. So once they learned about it, they said, "Oh, you know what? This is kopное право." It's in Russian. So this is this kopное право. Yeah, we know this. This is how we used to run. No,
I'd be interested in anything translated to English about that. If you could find that, I'd like to study and see what we can learn and to understand if there are any differences. Are they for better or worse?
I can tell you some most important ones. Like well, they had these groups of 10. 10 it was the number, and the other thing is they only allowed men. And they only allowed married men. They only allowed married men, the children, property, and born in this territory. That was the filter.
That makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about fractal governance, and I think the most base layer of the fractal is the family. If a family is divided against itself, then it cannot stand. And so a family should be required to reach consensus in order to have an opinion at the next layer up. As broken families are how the government's tyranny wins.
Well, I agree with you, and I understand why it used to be that way. But today, well, I was married 3 times. So I had like 3 broken marriages. But it's really hard to survive in our culture in the Hollywood era today with a marriage, especially if you bring your woman to the United States. Before I came to the United States with my wife, it was okay. It was okay. She was kind of tamed here. But once she got free and she learned that there are a lot of men with money and power that she can pursue, she kicked me out. It took some time, but eventually it happened. And another thing is that Genghis Khan, he also used elements of fractal democracy because he had these groups of 10, hundreds, thousands. It was also very similar to that. And so in Asia, we also used to have that as well.
So maintaining the rules of relative power is key. Maintaining the ability to secede is key, and randomization is key. If they had stable groups of 10 and it wasn't randomized, it's not fractal democracy. If the groups got larger than 7,000 or a certain size, it ceases to be a fractal democracy. I can see how it has like elements of it, but it's the composability and the that is key. So it would be very.
We cannot. Sorry about that. Yeah, we cannot use that system that used to be that they used today. We need the new system. We need the fractal democracy today because it's adapted. It's different.
Jorge, you had a question?
I wanted to ask Shacruz about the tool he's creating, what language he's using first, and second, he said that the community he's mentioning has about 100,000 members and it's a multi-level community. Is that what you said?
Multi-level marketing. Yes, they get referral bonuses and they live from these referral bonuses.
Wow. And about the language of the tool you're creating?
Well, if you mention if you see Telegram bot is in English. The Telegram bot that is using
programming language.
English. Yeah, JavaScript.
What?
Node.js, Node.js and JavaScript. Yeah, and it's using a Google Sheets as a table, as a source of information, so we can easily update it. And once we have the blockchain, it will be using APIs, and it will be just updating from the blockchain. So it will be like a mini blockchain explorer that you can use, will notify you on changes on your account.
Nice.
15 seconds, everyone.
Blows my everybody's just like, okay.
Yeah, and the Russians told me to say hello to Daniel Larimer, so I'm saying hello to Yes.
Okay, so that's fun.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you all. See you back in the main room.
Cool.
Okay,
See
bye.
you there.
Like a host rights, or how can I add information and documents there?
I'll chat with you about it privately.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back, those of you who are back.
Somebody's got some feedback. If you could try to mute, that's you. All right, another great week. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up and helping us reach consensus.
I will put the blog post in here again in case anyone else needs it. I know there was a question from one of our new attendees, a good question from Quinn. When he gets back here, let's see if he wants to raise his hand and ask that. Is there anything in particular you want to cover, Dan? And otherwise, should we solicit some feedback from everyone?
I would love to hear feedback from the new users, just to give us your experience on how it was coming into this group. I know that the randomness out there put all of the new users in one group the first round, which gave some of you an opportunity to go to round 2, which is funny how randomness works like that. So if you're a new user, raise your hand and we'd like to hear your feedback on that. And then I guess, Marco, you got your hand up?
Real quick question. I just want to know where the view was from Corey's website, the mountain view.
Okay, maybe Corey, if you want to type that in the chat for Marco.
Corey's also muted too.
Sorry, the one where my hands are up, right? That mountain view? Marco? Yeah, that's Bountiful, Utah.
Cool.
All right. Quinn.
Yeah. Just thoughts on how everything went. It was really interesting. I mean, to meet everyone in the first group, people doing cool stuff. And I was really impressed too, especially what people are doing for the Fractal community here in the round 2, notably. So that was really interesting. I see that everyone has a lot of diverse interests and fields that they're coming from. And so that's it's great to be able to connect with everyone here. And yeah, I'm excited for the end of this, to finish this meeting and for the next meeting on Saturday, see what all of this brings.
Quinn, do you want to also mention your question that you had too?
Yes, I'll do that. So yeah, I was curious. So say, for instance, I'm a new member, and this will apply to a few of us here. A new member, I believe there's one respect point you get as like a universal basic income. Is this correct?
Yeah, just for showing up.
Correct. And then, for instance, I'm level, if I'm say level 3, is that translate to what, 3 respect points? Is this correct? Or is this a complex process?
It started off really simple, where the number of tokens you got was directly tied to Fibonacci. Since then, we've now taken to average your level over time. So your initial average was 0. Today you got a 3, which means you've got a new average of 5 times 0 plus 3 divided by 6. That's your average, which then is going to be put into the Fibonacci sequence to get your weight, and then it's going to be normalized, and you get some amount of tokens. Bottom line is everyone who shows up gets something, and the more reliably and consistently you show up, the better. So if you show up every single week and you always get the lowest level 1, your average will approach 1, and you'll get basically a UBI just for showing up, because the basic unit of contribution is your judgment attending these meetings. That's time. That's the most objective contribution you can make, is being here. So just showing up, you get there. Now, some weeks you get lucky and you're in a room with a whole bunch of newbies and you can go to round 2 and you can get ranked really high. Other weeks you're put in, you got a lot of really powerful contributors all in one group and they get low. Point is, it averages over time. And we're taking a statistical sample of the relative ranks. Value is rank order. There's no absolute measure of value. And there's an infinite, for all practical purposes, an infinite number of permutations of how we, or combinations of how we can group people. And each combination gives a unique ranking and it changes week to week. We are doing that statistical sampling over time. So the more people that you impact positively in the community, the more likely you are to interface with them in groups and the higher you're likely to rank. So I would say the best thing you can do to do well in a Fractally community is impact the other members of the community in a positive way to the greatest extent you can, and to do so in a way that is aligned with the values of the community as a whole. You do those 2 things, you will do well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Tanner.
Hello. Thank you. Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Tanner. I guess to recap my experience here, from the start, I mean, I keep up with a lot of the news and latest updates with regards to this community, as well as the Indian communities. I just haven't had sort of the chance to make it to these meetings until today. So yeah, decided to stop by, take the time and participate in this process. I guess the first piece of feedback to note, like coming into this meeting, the Go Fractally sort of .com page is a whole mess of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep up with a lot of the stuff that's being put up on there. But it does have sort of the events and the Zoom link on there, which I was able to find and join here. And yeah, in the first round was very interesting. We had 4 new people, as well as Oscar, who took the time to explain sort of his experience. And then we took a lot of time just like getting adjusted to setting up Hive and how to post and things like that. And then the second round was also very interesting. There was a lot of very high value contributors that at least are known to me, even though many of you probably do not know me. I've seen a lot of you in these meetings and around in general. And yeah, in the second meeting had a pretty heated debate, which almost cost us consensus, but I'm glad that we were able to reach consensus in the sake of time, although there probably would have, there was probably more to discuss there, but you can only have these meetings be so long. So yeah, I appreciated this sort of platform or format to just be able to share those things.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. And the feedback there, I agree. The Go Fractally website is amazing. I get lost on it. It's a third-party service that we're using. It does organize a lot of information, but it can be a bit of a maze. Corey.
Yeah, I had no idea I would be going to the second round. But with the first round being all new people, it was really cool to get to see more of the contribution that's happening through. And Oscar was really great about, sharing. I said, well, what's a normal contribution, conversation look like? What did you contribute last week? So it was interesting to see, and then having all the new people and being able to help Tom kind of figure out the whole Hive experience had me learn more, because I just learned last night and being able to share it again with somebody new was cool. So I got to see both sides. It was good to get to know, because the first round, I wouldn't have known too much about what you guys were up to. You know, just watching the welcome video and the keynote and things like that doesn't really give you everything. So my brother prepared me for what was going to happen today so that I'd know what was going on. That was cool. But it was nice to see real life, you know, hearing about Alien World and then meeting Dwayne and hearing, you know, that whole experience, and just seeing what Mike's been up to, and getting to know 2 new people, and the honor of them voting for me because I helped someone that they brought in. It was a cool experience. So great community.
Thank you so much. Thank your brother, because he did not fare so well today.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Any other questions? All right. I'd like to thank you all for giving so much of your time on Saturday to go for not just 2 meetings, but the pre and post conversations. You know, this is a great contribution in its own right. So look forward to seeing you next week. Yeah, so gotta go.
All right. Thank you.
You guys are free to hang out if you want to. I know there's lots of people that want to discuss, but
Jorge, did you have another comment or question?
That was me waving because he was leaving, saying goodbye.
Oh, man.
That's all.
I just wanted to say that it's a really self-growing experience to share 2 rooms today with such heavy hitters. It was a humbling experience to believe that you have done a pretty big contribution, but then go to a room where everybody's doing great contributions and fare yourself against them. So I feel pretty fortunate for today's meeting. Thank you all. Thank you, this community, and best for us all.
All
thank
right.
you, Jorge.
Go Fractally.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
Perfect sign off.
Yes.
Go Fractally.
Go Fractally.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong outro. All right, everyone, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
You too.
Thanks, everybody.
See y'all. Thanks out.
Yeah. Thank you, ƒractal.